had interaction with it, and then comprised of interrelated and interconnected concepts which explain a phenomenon or phenomena. So when we talk of phenomenon is single, phenomena is plural. It's that that is experienced. For example, right now, there are some parts of our country that are experiencing famine. That is as phenomena. Right now, from last year, we have been experiencing COVID-19. It started COVID-19 20, now it is 21. That is a phenomenon. People have experienced it. They have observed what has been happening in the world. That is a phenomenon. We go to sociological theory. Sociological theories refer to the theories used to understand, explain, analyze, and interpret sociological phenomena. So we have said this theory is a statement or groups of statements which is supported by evidence. So when you now come to sociological theories, they are used to understand, explain, analyze, and interpret sociological phenomena. So in every area of your study, your main subjects, you have come across theories. So theories in history, theories in geography, theories in theory, theories in whichever other subject that you do. But now we are in sociology. So we are looking at those theories that are used in sociology. A sociological theory is defined as a reasoned set of propositions which are derived from and supported by sociological data or evidence and contain interrelated and interconnected concepts which are meant to explain phenomenon or phenomena. So, sociological theory, reasoned set of propositions. If you have heard of people doing research, whatever their results, they usually come up with in their conclusions, they are the ones that we call, they come up with theories that can be used to explain what is going on in their particular world. A sociological theory is a way to explain different aspects of social interactions and create testable propositions about society. Functions of a theory or sociological theory. Functions of a theory or sociological theory. A theory accounts for or provides a generalized explanation of an event. Generalized explanation of an event, occurrence or happening. That is, it is developed as a way of accounting for or explaining phenomena. For example, I've been talking about cheating in examination. If you are to do that as your research, you'll not take the whole country as your sample. You'll pick a sample. Like in the whole of the country, Kenya, where the KCSE is usually done, that will be your population. But within that population, you can pick a small area, like Machakos County or sub-county. And then you can pick several schools, boys' school, girls' school, national schools, and extra county schools, and they're like going down. And then you pick, and within the schools, you can pick maybe one class, and then you do the research. So from that is a sample. And from whatever you find from that sample, then you generalize it. Generalizing is now making your conclusion basing on the whole population. So a theory accounts for or provide a generalized explanation to an event, occurrence, or happening. That is, it is developed as a way of accounting for or explaining phenomena. A sociological theory accounts for an explanation for or explain the social phenomena. It has the purpose of providing a tentative theoretical answer to a question, issues, problems, or phenomena before taking them to suitable social situations to practically ascertain whether the tentative answer is correct. Account for or provide generalized explanation. Number 2, it accounts for or explain the socio phenomena. Those are the 2 functions of theory. Sociological theories used in education. We look at 3 theories. Structural functionalism theory. Definition. When you look at these terms, the structure, the function. What does the structure mean? This one is from the word structure. What does structure mean? Function. What does function mean? We talked about the society and how it is arranged. We talked about even your family, it's arranged. There is the head of the family, there is the manager, there are the siblings who are arranged in the order of birth. And then within that family, there are people with different talents or they are able to do different things. So that one will give us a structure. Same with the society. There is a structure in the society. There are different institutions in the society, and each institution has its own structure and has its own function. Each institution has its own function. So from there, we get the structural functionalism theory. Sometimes you'll find it functionalism theory. Sometimes you'll find it as structural theory. But there's also another term that can be used, consensus theory. So you may get in the examination consensus theory and you start wondering, which is this theory? So it is the same as structural functionalism theory. Functionalism is a dominant theory in sociology and other social sciences. It is defined as a theoretical orientation which proposes that human society is like an organism. Human society is like an organism in that it is made up of organs or structures called the social institutions. When you talk of an organism, is human being an organism? Is a dog an organism? So look at the human being as an organism. Within the human body, there are different organs. We have the heart, the liver, we have lungs, kidney, we have digestive system, we have the skin, and all that. And all those organs have each their functions. These organs cannot function on their own. They have to be inside that body, all of them, for the body to work well. So the same thing happens. Human society. According to this theory, human society is like an organism, and it's made up of organs. And these organs are called social institutions. That is the definition. Its basic postulate is that relationship among parts of a society, practices, etc., are created and sustained because they are functional. So the relationship of these institutions within this society, they are sustained, that they keep on going on and on because they each of these organs have a function. And that is why they are continually going on and on. For example, you have education. or as an institution. We have churches as institutions. We have the government as institution. We have economics as institutions. We have, we'll be looking at others. All those are continually going on in the society. There is never a time that the chief's office will be closed permanently and that it will not no longer be functioning. There's not a time that churches, religion will be closed. There's no time that education will be closed. They continually goes on and on because they each have a function to do in the society, for the society. Functionalism assumes agreement and acceptance of social values. Agreement and acceptance of social values. It is therefore also called consensus. That means within these social institutions, they agree and accept social values. They maintain the same social values. And I have said that because of this agreement in these social institutions, it's also known as consensus theory. So if you come across the term consensus theory in an examination and you are taught about structural functionalism, you should know that it is the one that is known as structural functionalism. Functionalism focuses on consensus, social order, structure, function in society, and how they are formed, sustained, and their effect. Consensus is the agreement, social order, that people are following the rules and regulation of the society. The structure, it means that the people within these institutions, they respect the leadership in each of the institutions. That if you are in education, you not come out from your office and go to another office, for example, in religion, and start commanding people there. You should respect what goes on in that office or in that institution. That is the structure. There should be the respect for structure and also the function of each institution, because each institution function or has its own function. For example, if you are the headmaster in a certain school, you are not supposed to go to another institution which has its own headmaster and start commanding the teachers there. That is wrong. So the same thing happens in social institutions. They have their leadership, different leaderships, and the way the leadership is organized, that is the structural organization of that institutions. And there is need for each and every institution to respect each other. And how they are formed. So we are talking about how they come to be. For example, educational institutions. Why are they necessary in a society? The government institution like the chief's office, the registrar of persons, all those institutions that are based on government, and all those institutions that are on religion and the like. How are they formed? How are they sustained? Sustained is making them to continue working continually throughout the years and their effects. So what effect do they have on each other? So it focuses on all that. Robert Merton, 1910 to 2003, pointed out that social processes often have many functions. Social processes, it's not social processes, social institutions often have many functions. Manifest functions are the consequences of a social process that are sought or anticipated. Manifest functions. The consequences of a social process that are sought or anticipated, while latent functions are the unsought consequences of a social process. So manifest. For example, when you come to school, what do you expect to get from that school? That will be the social process that will be taking place is learning in a school. That will be manifest. It is what is expected to be found in that. Latent function are unsought consequences of a social process. When you're in Machakos University, you have come to undertake education arts as your degree. So at the end of that degree, you have attained a bachelor's degree in education, specializing in Kiswahili history, CRA, Kiswahili, and the like. Apart from that, what other things have you learned in Machakos University? Maybe you have gained a husband, you have gained a wife. Pengine, you have been in a group of CU students, and as you have been in school for the 4 years, you became maybe the CU leader, you are able to go for missions and preach to others and the like. Others will have come to know about other things apart from the main thing that brought you to Machakos University. The main thing was manifest function, that is learning. Latent functions are other things that you gain as you are in Machakos University. Latent function can be beneficial, they can be beneficial, neutral, or harmful. Social processes that have undesirable consequences for the operation of society are called dysfunctions. In education, for example, dysfunction include getting bad grades, truancy, dropping out, not graduating, not finding suitable employment. So amongst these latent functions, you may decide you are not going to learn. Kama sasa, out of a class, I should be having a group of 290 right now. I only have 120 on. Where are the others? They have decided not to join the class because mwalimu hakuji kwa darasa. So at the end of the semester, they may have bad grades because they didn't attend class. Others have truancy. Others, they drop out. There are people who you started with last year, but they have already dropped out of the university. Others will go up to 4th year, but they will not graduate. Why? Because there is a certain unit they have not either, they didn't pass in 1st year and they didn't do the supplementary. There is a certain unit they have not bothered to register, so it is not appearing in their transcript and the like. After the course, you may not get employed. So these are part of the latent functions that we call dysfunctions as you are a student in Machakos University. Structural functionalism proposes that society is made up of organs or structures called social institutions, which are structured to carry out or perform different functions on behalf of society. Structural functionalism attempts to provide an explanation on how human society is organized, and mainly what each of the various social institutions does as its work in order for society to continue existing. So when you talk of sustainability, it's continuing to exist and the like. Social institutions are social mechanisms for executing social functions and hence facilitate social life. They are systems of behavior and relationships that function across the entire society. They order and structure the behavior of individuals, assign roles. Order and structure is the role that people do through their normative characters. So That is on functional theory or structural functional theory. So what are the basic tenets of structural functionalism theory? When you talk of basic tenets, it's basic assumptions. Tenets are the same as assumptions. So what are the assumptions? What does structural functionalism theory assume, or what are the tenets? The first one, it's assumed that human society is made up of and organized in organs referred to as social institution. That is the first assumption. Made up of and organized in organs referred to as social institutions. Just like the body is made up of organs, so the human society is made up of those organs, and these organs are referred to as social institutions. Each institution is structured differently from the others. Structured is how it is organized. For example, the university, is it organized the same as the church? The Roman Catholic Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Anglican Church, the AIC Church, is it organized the same? No. Each institution is structured differently from the other. Look at the heart. Does the heart look like the lungs? Or the lungs look like the kidney? The kidney like the liver? They are structured differently. The same with the social institutions. The third one, each institution is mandated to carry out a specific function to the society. Each institution is mandated to carry out a specialized function to society. So as the heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys do their specific functions, so those institutions in the society have their specific function. Education is for providing learning to the society. If you go to the church, what does it do? If you go to the law court, what do they do? If you go to the hospital, what does it do? So different social institutions have their specific function in the society. Each institutions are interrelated, interconnected, interdependent. Hence, they form and maintain a stable system that can support the whole, that is the society. Look at the human body. Can the body function without the heart? Can the body function without the lungs? Can the body function without the liver? Can the body function without the kidney? So they are interrelated, interconnected, interdependent. Interrelated means that they relate to each other. For example, the heart pumps the blood that has been oxygenated by the lungs to the whole body. What does the lungs do? The lungs oxygenate the blood. And what does the liver do? The liver removes the toxins and help in the digestion of some of the food that is eaten. So each and every part of the body, organs of the body, have interrelation. So interconnected, they are connected in a certain way. For example, maybe one function will do this. For example, let's look at the blood. It must have oxygen so that the whole body will be, the cells in the body will have oxygen. So from the lungs, the blood is oxygenated. For it to go to every cell in the body, it has to be pumped by the heart. It has to be cleaned by the kidneys. So there is interrelation, interconnected, interdependence. All of them depend on each other. Not one cannot function without the other. So the same things happen in the society. Education cannot start by itself without other institutions. The government cannot just start by itself. The government includes the central government and all its various organs in the society, and it cannot just start by itself. The church cannot just be there by itself. So each one of them have a relationship to each other. The economics can, or the economy, it cannot just be there. It is part of, it's a society, a social institution on its own, but it depends on others for it to function properly. So they are interrelated, interconnected, interdependent, hence they form and maintain a stable system that can support the whole. So if one of them is not there, the system will not be stable. It will be unstable. There will be a problem. Because this is the fifth one, because of the interrelations and interdependencies, one institution can affect or be affected by other institutions or the whole society, the whole of society. For example, you have heard of people having a problem with their hearts, problem with their lungs, problems with their kidneys, problem with their livers. When one organ of the body has a problem, the whole body is affected. Or you have heard of people, if the heart is affected, then it will also have that person may have a problem with the kidneys or with the liver, with other organs. So when one organ in a society has a problem, other institutions in the society also have problems. For example, we have education. It's people, for all institutions in the society are educated. So if there is cheating in examination, that means people are not getting the students are not getting the correct skills that they are required for the areas that they're supposed to go to serve in the other institutions. For example, let's say a doctor. This doctor has been cheating in the examination to pass the examination throughout the course. So at the end of the course, this doctor does not have the required skills to perform a surgery. He has finished his education. He has gone to the hospital to give his services or to function as a doctor in the society. What will happen? This doctor will go to misdiagnose his patients, and when he is performing surgery, he will do the wrong thing. What will happen? People will not have faith in the doctors in the society. So when one institution is affected, it will affect others. When one institution has a problem, other institutions will be affected because it will carry from one area to another. The lungs, when they have a problem of oxygenating the blood that is pumped by the heart to other organs and other cells in the body will not be oxygenated. What will happen? That person has no oxygen, and therefore you are hearing of what is happening with the coronavirus patients. Because of the oxygen, the other organs start failing, and therefore that would lead to death. The same thing happens in the society. When one institution has a problem, that problem will be reflected in other institutions. And this is it. The seventh one, the sixth one. In order for the whole to be sustained and continue to exist, all institutions must maintain order and stability. The whole now is the society made of those different institutions. In order for the whole to be sustained and continue to exist, all institutions must maintain order and stability by recognizing and obeying a legitimate authority of the others. This is what I was saying. Each institution has its own structure, its hands of that institution, and the way people work in the institution. That means that other people from other institutions, when they come, they go to other institutions, they should respect that order. If it is the person in charge of education institution, Professor Magoha, the Minister of Health should respect that person, because this one is in charge of that. He cannot come to command other people in the education sector while he has his own. So they should respect each other. The church should be respected because it has its own authority. The person in charge of, in the church, we have different denomination and even different religion. So each should be respected the way they are, so that there is order and stability in the society. Otherwise, when they are not respected, there will be disorder and people will be destabilized. You remember during the pandemic, the post-election violence, it affected all sectors. And there was instability in the country. There was no order in the country. And then we look at examples of functionalism in use. Cultural norms function to support the fluid operation of society. Cultural norms. We talked about norms last week. And cultural values guide people in making choices. Talcott Parsons referred to the function of culture as latent pattern maintenance. Latent pattern maintenance. That means latent, it's not the main thing that the society does, but what happens as society continues to live its life. Meaning that the culture practices meaning that the cultural practices that reproduce and saturate symbolic meanings and codes serve to the function of maintaining social patterns of behavior and facilitating orderly pattern change. Culture functions to ensure that the meaning of life remains stable. So there are those things that in society, the norms and the values, things in society that guides your life. You must not be told, do this, that, and the other. In our society, we do not do this. We are not expected to do this. Those are the latent things, the latent patterns that you're talking about. So you know what is wrong, you know what is right. For example, when you entered Machakos University, you are given those rules and regulations. Those rules and regulations are not hung somewhere in Machakos University that every time you are passing there, you read. You have already internalized. So those are the norms of Machakos University. And that is what you follow when you are living in Machakos University. When you talk of values, are those things that you have internalized as your beliefs, your principles. So sometimes you say that, for example, if you are a man, there is a type of girl that you want to associate with. There are other types of girls you not want to be associated with. There are things that you do in your life, not because you are being beaten to do it, but because you know that this is what I believe in and this is what I stand for. So we call that latent pattern maintenance. And they are the ones that give meaning of life. Other classes include provides an outlet for energies that might otherwise be directed to negative activities. Provide an outlet for energies that might otherwise be directed to negative activities. For example, in Machakos University, do you have sports? Sports, if you are in sports, that is a place where you can get an outlet for energies that might otherwise be directed to negative activities. Negative activities are those activities that may not give you any value in your life, like being involved in violence, being involved in negative things like sexual activities when you are free instead of using your time to be productive and the like. It provides the basis for cultivation of self in the pursuit of excellence. So when you're looking at things like sports, when you're looking at things like being in a club, for example, I'm in charge of a club known as President Awards Scheme. If you're in such a place, when you are free, especially on weekends, you can go and do service, some service, community service, like cleaning or doing some work in a children's home, maybe cleaning the community areas like Machakos University, you collect all the dirt and maybe rearing the flower beds and the like. Such, it provides the basis for cultivation of self in the pursuit of excellence. Cultivation of self is knowing who you are as a person. What is your purpose? How can you be of use in the society? Provide important lessons on the value of team play. So in such cases, there is teamwork, coming together as a team, and doing something, working together and being productive in that team. It provides an excellent activity that contributes to the health of the population. Criticism against functionalism. It overemphasizes on stability and order while neglecting conflict and change. So we are talking about that those different institutions within the society have to work and to respect each other so that there is stability and there is order. But you're not talking about how they can deal with conflict or how they can deal with change that is occurring in each. So this structural functionalism just deals with stability and order, but not conflict and change, which are usually equally strong and vital for society. It stresses and various situations of status quo and equilibrium in society. Status quo, that is state as it is. So if it is education, we want to leave education and how it is usually administered. If it is the health sector, we want to leave the health sector and how it is administered. administered and the like, so that we do not cause some in disequilibrium. That means there will be no, we don't want to deal with, or we don't want to change the balance. Then we have social change. Its importance and the role of disequilibrium in social change are neglected. So because we want to leave things the way they are, we don't know how now. In this functionalism, we don't know how to deal with social change, how to deal with an imbalance in the society that is caused by the social change and the like. The theory is seen as conservative and not critical of society and its failure. So conservative means that we want the things to remain the way they have been. Hatutaki change. That is for the social functionalism. Criticism. People criticize it for that. Your work now, another an activity. Implications. Sorry. Implication of social functionalism in education. That is your work. Read the article below and summarize the implication of labeling theory on education. That means, how can, this is not labeling theory, social functionalism, the social functionalism, not labeling theory. Sorry, this is wrong. Social functionalism consensus theory. I want you to look at 5 points how social functioning can be used in education. Write them down. As you're writing those notes, you read that part, and to this article will give you the how functionalism is used in education. This one is very important. This is the application of functionalism theory in education. So make sure you do that. We go to symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism. Definition. Symbolic interactionism provides a theoretical perspective that helps scholars examine the relationship of individuals within their society. Symbolic interactionism provides a theoretical perspective that helps scholars examine the relationship of individuals within society. It is defined as a theoretical orientation which contains assumptions proposing that the social world is made up of symbols which human beings use as a means of interaction. Symbolic interactionism. So it is symbols that are used for interactions, or when you're communicating with each other, you use symbols. This perspective is centered on the notion that communication, or the exchange of meaning through language and symbols, is how people make sense of their social world. So we use a language is a symbol, and there are other things that we use as symbols that will help us to understand or to get meanings of things in our social lives. It focuses on the way people develop an understanding of the world through observation and interpretation of behavior. How people develop an understanding of the world through observation and interpretation of behavior. Symbolic interactionism theory focuses on how the action and interaction between people are the result of the meaning that people attribute to objects and other people's action. So, for example, if you're seeing this cursor, it may be a symbol that I'm reading through this line. So you understand that when you see the red cursor moving, that I am reading on that line. So it is communicating to you where I am in this page that is displayed. We have the actions and interactions that we usually come across in our daily lives. And some of these actions, they are in symbols. Some people, for example, we come from different cultures. The language that we use, others may not understand what you're saying because they don't know that language. And we have said that language is one of the symbols. So there are other actions. For example, you can use gestures. One may understand a gesture, another one may not understand. Facial expressions may be symbols and the like. We'll be looking at the symbols as we continue. Symbolic interaction theory views everything from the self to the patterns of interaction between individuals as the result of social process. Views everything from the self. Self means you, me, myself, and I. To the patterns of interaction between the individuals as the result of social process. So how I interact, how I interpret what others are doing is as a result of what I have come across in the society as I have been growing up. We talked about education as a social process. And we said education starts at birth and ends at death. So every moment of our life is a social process. So there are patterns of interaction throughout our lives. The social world is seen as made up of symbols which human beings use as a means of interaction. Made up of symbols, social life is seen as an act or a play in a stage. Social life. All of you have seen a movie. You have been to a movie. So a movie, there are people who are playing certain characters. And in that movie, there are things that they do. So social life is like that. It is likened to playing or performing a role in a play scene, that is the social world. So there's a program I was watching, and it was saying that God himself sees us either as a picture. Ushawahi chukua zile picha za kitambo, the ones that are produced on a piece of paper. The image, in that image. So God sees us as just, there are so many, lakini kila mtu anaonekana tu kama your picture or a video, doing things that you are doing from the time you wake up to the time you sleep, and all the people that you come across. So when you talk of a play or a scene of a play, in a play there are different scenes. So today it's a scene on itself, right now it's a scene on itself, and the like. But Mead introduced the more focused dimensions that people do not act individually, but instead interact between each other and react to each other's acts. So you don't act on your own. We don't live in a vacuum. We live in a society full of people. So we interact. We come across others. We speak with them. We do things together, and as we do things, we interact with them. We also react to how others act. For example, if I come to class and I come and hug one of the students in the class, how will others see it? They will react to that action that I've done. Or if I come to class and I start abusing one of you, how will others react? So we interact and react to others' acts. That is, people are interactors. Inter means that we are acting with others. They meet, affect, and relate to each other on the same stage. They meet, affect, and relate to each other on the same stage. In the stage, people exposes their intentions, their personalities, behaviors, likes and dislikes, responses. So when we are in this stage of life, when we are of this stage of social life, living in the social world, we meet, we affect, we relate with each other. So when we are meeting and affecting and relating to each other, we expose ourselves. What is my intention? For example, a girl may be attracted to you as a man because you have money. So the way she'll meet you and affect and relate with you, we know this girl is a gold digger. Or this man wants just to use me and then atanitupa, akinitumia. Personalities. We come across different personalities. What are personalities? What do we mean by personalities? There are those who are calm. There are those who are aggressive. There are those who touch hivi tu anaripuka kama bomb. Kuna wengine, they will be able to make people to stay calm. And they're like, we have different personalities. And then behavior. We behave differently. We have come from different backgrounds. We have been brought up differently. And so the way we do things and the way we live and the way we act together with others is different. There are those things that we like. There are those things that we don't like. There are the different ways we respond to the acts of others. So as we meet together, we affect each other, we relate to each other, we expose all this. So what are the assumptions of symbolic interactionism? We have said that symbolic interactionism is about the symbols that we use when we are interacting with each other. Symbolic interactionism makes the following key assumptions. Social life thrives largely not on human beings acting individually, but acting and reacting toward each other, then connecting their acts, responses, behaviors, and activities. When we are in the sociological theories, there are three things that you need to know. What the theory means, the assumption or the tenets of the theory, and how it can be applied in education. Those are the most important things when you are studying these theories. So the first tenet or assumption is that social life thrives largely not on human beings acting individually. So interactionism means that there are different people who are interacting, acting and reacting towards each other, then connecting their acts, responses, behaviors, and activities. Such joint phenomena are the ones that signify the human effort towards the social interaction. The second one, social reality is not fixed. Social reality is not fixed or stable, and people need others to help interpret, understand, and even perceive reality. So what is reality? What you think as reality to you is not reality to another person. We have been brought up in different environments. And we have different opinions, different perceptions, and the like. So social reality is not fixed. It means that, for example, when you look at a picture, each person will interpret it differently because of the way we see things. So it means that social reality is not the same for everyone, and it is not stable. That means it will not remain constant. So people understand and even perceive reality. That is the second one. The third one, we interpret and communicate through symbols. We interpret and communicate through symbols. These include, number one, language, both spoken and written. So English language is like what I'm using now. Written is what you are reading here. That is English language. It can be in Chinese, Japanese, German, French, Arabic, and the like. Those are languages. It can be Kikuyu, Kiswahili, Luo, Kikamba, Kiluya, sijui, Kikisi. Those are spoken languages, or if it is written down on a book, it is written. Gestures. We have facial, body, and hand expression. For example, some of us, when we are talking, we are using our hands. Our faces are changing. So those are gestures. And each gesture has a meaning. So we communicate through symbols. Art is another symbol, especially drawing, paintings, and carvings. You usually see some paintings and you ask, what is the meaning? Some of us cannot understand. Then there will come a person who will say, this drawing is very beautiful. It has good meaning. Lakini wewe unaiangalia unashindwa sasa hii ni nini? So we communicate through symbols, and not everyone will interpret it the same. We have different interpretation. Signs. For example, you are at the gate, Machakos University. Have you ever come across any signs on that in the university itself? You start at the main, immediately that roundabout that is near the main gate. Kuna kibao, imeandikwa several things showing you the direction. Those are signs. Signs can be warning signs. For example, when there are people cleaning the floors, they will have a sign, slippery floors, caution, slippery floors. So you'll be in a position to know that if you don't walk properly, you may slip and fall and you may get injured. On the road, when you are traveling where there are roads that there are many curves on that road, they will tell you, they will draw some curves on the road so that when you are driving, you be careful to note that you should not drive fast. Instruction. There are signs of instruction. Sometimes you have a sign instructing you what to do. For example, in case of danger, there is a fire alarm somewhere. It will usually tell you what to do in case there is a fire. To break the glass, and then you pull a string or something like that. Directional signs, the ones like in the university, they will show you the School of Education, School of Agriculture, the library, the mess, and the like. Those are symbols. Then we have music and drama. Music is full of symbols. The language that is used is symbolic, or the meaning of this music may be symbolic. The drama also may be symbolizing something that is happening in life. That is symbols. Personal artifacts and jewelry. Personal artifacts. For example, maybe When you go back home to your family's archive, you may find a letter your dad wrote to your mom when they were courting. That is called personal artifacts, things that can be kept as a reminder. You may have maybe what we call a sculpture that has a meaning. Maybe you corrected it from your grandmother or something like that, and it has a meaning. You may have a doll that you are bought when you were an infant, and you still keep it because you are attached to it. That is an artifact. Then we have jewelries. Maybe you have bought an engagement ring to your girlfriend, and you have proposed. That would be a jewelry. A necklace, earrings, and the like. They have a meaning. For human beings to interact and communicate, two conditions must be met. The first one, ability to recognize, know, and interpret the symbol. Recognize. Look at the flag of Kenya. The flag of Kenya is also a symbol. When you see it, you'll know that that is a Kenyan flag. What does it mean? What does those colors? So the first thing is you recognize the flag of Kenya. You'll know you recognize the colors, the red, black, and white. Red, green, black, and white. So you recognize that. You will know by the way it is designed, and then you'll be able to interpret. What does the red mean? What does the black mean? What does the green mean? So for human beings to interact and communicate, two conditions must be met. First, you recognize, know, and interpret. Then the second one, ability to place the right meaning on the symbol. So after you have interpreted those colors, the green, the white, the red, the black, what meaning do you place on that? So first of all, you know this, I'm using English. So you recognize Madam Muchai is using English. I know the words that she's using. I can interpret those ones. Then you place the right meaning to what I am saying. Every society must and maintains a learning process that enables members to acquire and recognize popular symbols of interaction in it. Must. Every society must. For example, where you come from or the culture you come from, use a language. You must use that language when you are in your society. You must maintain that language. These days we are mixed up because we may have a mother who is a Kikuyu, a dad who is a Luo. We may have maybe grandparents who are Kambas, and maybe Taita. So we have already mixed. That family has mixed languages. So in order for them to be able to communicate, then there is one language that will be chosen, like Kiswahili or English. So they must choose one and maintain that language. A learning process that enables members to acquire and recognize popular symbols of interaction. Otherwise, if they don't choose a language and they don't maintain that language, then they will not be able to interact. Society invests resources in helping their members learn, internalize, interpret, and place the right meaning to symbols. This ensures desired social interactions. For example, when you are in high school, there was a school symbol. When you entered Form 1, you are oriented into that school symbol. You are taught what it meant and why it was to be adhered to, and the like. Group membership and thriving in groups is sometimes conditional in being able to interpret the special meaning that groups attach to the ordinary symbols, or knowledge of specialized symbols and their specialized meaning. If you have been a member of maybe a peer group or a camp like the Scout or Girl Guide, they have some symbols that you must know their meanings and the conditions that must be met so that you may be able to thrive in that group. Social events and activities are only able to acquire their distinguishing and desired characteristics and value in society because of the types of symbols and interactions they are given. Similarly, events will also have value because of what they symbolize and the meaning and value attached. For example, a wedding is important because, among other things, it symbolizes the start of a family and hence continuity, both of which are socially valuable and desired. A wedding is also a set of symbols which we know and interpret and place desired meaning on. The wedding thus has a special characteristics and value. A set of symbols. When we talk of, apart from this starting a family and hence continuity, look at the types of weddings we are having these days. It is a status symbol. There are people who are spending so much money for their wedding so that it can be on the wedding shows. Others, they want to show people at a sisi tuko. So that's what we are talking about. A set of symbols which you know and interpret and place desired meaning. So whenever you see a wedding, apart from starting a family, apart from your parents continuing, we also put some the status, our status, and therefore has special characteristics and value. Symbolic interactionism in use. Fashion is never functional. Fashion. Look at the clothes that you wear. Look at the choices that you make when you're buying your clothes. Do they have a meaning? Why do you choose a certain type of a certain design of a dress and not another? What do you want to communicate with others? Fashion is a language that we use to interpret who others are and communicate who we are. Who others are and communicate who we are. So when you choose a dress that is of latest fashion, it means that you are keeping in the fashion. You are telling others who are not cannot afford the current fashion that they are old fashioned. They are not up to 8. Clothing fashions represent an intricate language of interpersonal communication. Does this look good on me? Clothes are never simply functional, because even the most functional and practical make a statement about the wearer. Does it look on me? Does it look on you? George Simmel, 1904, noted that while extremely transitory, the establishment of functions always has to contend with two seemingly contradictory tendencies: the desire of individual to fit in and conform to what is fashionable, and the desire of individual to stand out as individuals, to fit in and conform, to stand out. So when you're buying your clothes, you want others to see you as part of the you are in a group, so you want to fit in that group. But also when you're buying that clothes, people will say, hey, look at that girl. Hey, she's very smart today. She's smarter than anybody else. And then when you look at the way she dresses, then you'll be talking about that person as that is how she dresses, or that is how he dresses. A unique person does not copy any other person, just stand out. A unique fashion that you have established. Being fashionable involves a highly nuanced negotiation between these two poles, to fit in and conform, or to stand out. So amongst you, you are 101 in class. Do you dress to fit in and conform, or do you dress to stand out? That means that when you are in a large group, people can pick you because of the way you have dressed. Somebody who is visible in a large group. A sociologist viewing food consumption through a symbolic interactionism lens would be more interested in micro-level topics such as the symbolic use of food in religious rituals, or the role it plays in the social interaction of a family dinner. For example, we usually have Christmases, or in African context, or in the world these days. When we have a holiday, we want to meet together and we enjoy each other's company when we are eating. That is a symbol. The way you choose your food also is a symbol. For example, these days, there are people who are food fans. They are choosing sometimes types of food. Like you can hear, I'm a vegetarian. Why do you think they are vegetarian? It's a symbol. There is a reason they have chosen. Others are saying, I'm dieting. I don't take this, I don't take that. This perspective might also study the interaction among group members who identify themselves based on their sharing a particular diet, such as vegetarians who do not eat meat, or locavores, people who strive to eat locally produced food. The increasing concern that people have with their diet speak to the way that the life of a biological body is, as much as symbolic reality interpreted within contemporary discourse on health risks and beauty, as it is a biological reality. So we can use food, especially for religious, right? For example, on Fridays, what do Catholics not eat? That is food in religious rituals. Or Muslims, what do they, or what type of meat do they eat? And which meat do they not eat? Or during Christmases, what type of food do we prepare in our family gathering, and why? And then these days, because of beauty, I'm dieting, so I don't take this, that, and the other, the junk food. Or I'm a vegan, I'm a vegetarian, and the like. Then we go to implication of symbolic interactionism in education. In education, the two main actors are teachers, instructors of different kinds, and learners or students. For education to take place successfully, they must interact and do so using symbols. Some of these symbols are language, gestures, tools, rules, and regulations. So in education, we use symbols. The teacher and the learners must understand the language that is used. The teacher, when teaching physical classes uses gestures. There are other tools. For example, teaching aids are used to communicate, especially depending on the topic that is being taught. In school, we have rules and regulations. It is also a symbol. Number 2, effective education is conditional on the proper use of careful selected symbols which convey the correct meaning of social life in that particular society. For example, the choice of language to use determines how well learners learn. So, effective communication. In Kenya, English has been chosen as the instructional language. So, from nursery school, learners start learning that language. And this language is used as the symbol of interaction. The choice of language to use determines how well learners learn. So, for example, if you went to a new school, previously you have been using English, and then you went to a new school where they are teaching their learners you go to Tanzania, they teach in Kiswahili, different subjects. Will you be in a position to understand chemistry in Kiswahili or history in Kiswahili? It will take you time before you get used to that. Teachers must be conversant with and able to use the correct symbols to transmit their meaning to learners. Teachers should use these symbols in a consistent way to ensure they are correctly received and interpreted. So teachers must be conversant with and be able to use the correct symbols. So whichever symbols are used, the learner should be familiar with those symbols that are used by the teachers. Teachers must constantly evaluate learners to identify if the learners are correctly capturing the symbols used and interpreting and internalizing the meaning being communicated. So we often give cards and examination. This is to evaluate whether learners can identify the symbols that are used correctly, are able to interpret the symbols, and you are able to internalize the meaning of the symbols being used. So when I'm communicating to you using English, I'm teaching you this unit. Have you been able to learn anything? So I'll do that with the first card that I will be giving you. In class, you also evaluate by asking questions. For example, you are teaching mathematics. Some of you are mathematics business. There are so many symbols in mathematics. So as you are teaching, you come to maybe before the end of the lesson, you give exercises. As you're giving those exercises, you are trying to evaluate whether the learners have understood the symbols. Same as English, those subjects that you are introduced a new symbol. For example, the words that you may use when teaching, you come across new words. Those will be new symbols. So before the end of the lesson, you give an exercise to see whether the learners have understood those symbols. Use of negative symbols such as indifference, cruel punishment, authoritarianism is discouraged. Such symbols convey and instill negative meanings and are wrongly interpreted. So when you talk of indifference, what do we mean? Negative symbols. For example, in class, a teacher may, for one of the learners may be causing disruption in class. So for example, for that teacher to continue doing his or her work, he may try to ignore that person that is showing indifference, that hata ukiendelea kuongea hata sikuoni, you're indifferent. Or a teacher may be indifferent in that there are some learners that in the classroom that he does not give his attention to. You become indifferent. So how will that learner feel when you are indifferent to him or her? They feel that they are not being it is part, it's negative. It has a negative impact when you are, indeed you are being ignored, because the teacher may pass you. You have lifted your hand, you have an answer, but they may never ask you a question. Why? Maybe there is a grudge between you and the teacher, or the teacher may just don't like you. Some of us usually form an attitude to add what others. And when we ignore such, we are indifferent, and that may cause a negative impact on the learner. Cruel punishments. Teachers usually give cruel punishment. You do a mistake, but the punishment that you get is too high that you start wondering, this one does not measure this, does not equal to this. So it leads to negative impact to the student. Authoritarianism is when the teacher has always on the right. Whether you have the right answer or you have the wrong answer, you have to do what the teacher says. He is a dictator. It also has a negative impact. So all these are also symbols. So such symbols convey an instill negative meaning and are wrongly interpreted. So as teachers, we should try as much as we can to avoid using these three in the classroom, so that we do not affect our students. The school and the other learning centers get their distinguishing characteristics and values because of what take place in them. Distinguishing characteristics. For example, you have heard of the famous schools. They have their own characteristics. For example, they have their own culture. Things that are done in that school have a way. They have a way of doing them. They have a uniform that is well known for being, for example, Machakos School. Most people know Machakos School. It's a famous school because of its performance, because of its behavior, because of those things, the practices that are in that school. So learning centers get distinguishing characteristics and value because of what takes place in them. So those are the symbols. They become a symbol. So if you hear of Machakos School, then you think Machakos School is the best school in Machakos County, and the like. Criticism of interactionism. Interactionism is criticized as focusing too closely on details and the individual. Focusing too closely on details and the individual, so that is a criticism, instead of focusing on other things. Interactionism also does not explain power relations or nature of social exchange. So it does not, the power relationship, who is in charge, who is under the other. It only focuses on how you interact with each other. Another criticism is that it focuses on micro-level interactions. It is difficult to generalize from very specific situations involving very few individuals to make socio-scientific claims about the nature of society as a whole. The detail is that while the rich texture of face-to-face social life can be examined in detail, the results will remain purely descriptive without any explanatory or analytical strength. So it is very difficult, for example, when we are in class, you are a group of 290 students and I am there alone. So I cannot be able to concentrate on all of you. I may be in a class of 290, but I may only know around 5 people. And when I'm teaching, I'll only concentrate on a few, not everybody. It's difficult. We go to the third theory, labeling theory. Definition. Labeling theory is a perspective that shows and explains the basis upon which people categorize phenomena in order to make sense of it. Explain the basis upon which people categorize phenomena. When we talked about phenomena as being something that you have experienced or something that you have observed in a happening that you have experienced or observed in the society. So labeling theory is a perspective that shows and explains the basis upon which people categorize phenomena in order to make sense of it. The categories and the tags used on them are called labels. The categories and tags used are called labels. Labels can be assigned on the basis of superficial perception of an event, action, or interaction. Labels can be assigned on a basis of a superficial perception of an event, action, or interaction with people. For example, a teacher can use the label troublemaker to perceive and interpret a learner's behavior for a very long time. So that means while this teacher has been in class for example, for a 2 weeks time, maybe every day for 2 weeks, ataona maybe Kamau has been causing trouble, sometimes kicking another student, sometimes grabbing a book from another student, sometimes making noise and the like. So by the end of 2 weeks, the teacher will give that person the label troublemaker. Labels are tags that other people in society use to describe others and their behavior, e.g., defiance, and in most cases, to describe them. So when you describe one as a defiant, what does that mean? That person goes against the rules of the institution and the like. Labels are based on how people perceive others and how the raised hands, what do they mean? Labels are based on how people perceive others and how they portray themselves to society. So you'll give a person a label according to how you see that person. For example, pengine mshanipatia badika nini a label. Unaniitanga aje? I was in class with you the first week. So you saw me the first week and you declared me a label. Because maybe of how I portrayed myself to you. Labels can be positive or negative. This theory is also used to account for defiance in human behavior. It is useful when discussing rules and norms and why some people seem not to adhere to them. Tenets. Remember tenets, we said there, the assumptions of labeling theory. Labels given to individuals are mainly in the form of names, tags, and gestures. For example, gifted, difficult student, addicts, in form of names, tags, and gestures. People develop labels about others during interactions and perception are performed. So when we are interacting with others, the way they talk, the way they do their things, we come to a perception. A picture in our minds forms. The perceptions then inspires the kinds of labels to be used on others based on specific factors like an individual's behavior. We may call that a difficult student because of his behavior. Physical appearance. For example, we may call a person a fatso, or maybe the other a blackie because one is dark, or a brownie because one is brown. A person's ability or possession. We may call a person a laser because they are sharp, they are very good, intelligent. A person's performance or achievement, we may call one performance because they always come number one, number two. What names did you used to call them? Labels can either be positive or negative. They can build, stroke boost, or depress someone's capability, self-image, behavior, etc. So positive labels will boost or build one's capabilities. Negative labels will depress. This one will lower one's self-esteem. Negative labels always lowers people's esteem. And that's why you find most of the bullies in school have been given negative labels as they were growing up, and therefore it leads to such behavior. It lowers their self-image, it makes them to misbehave, etc. Labels can result in self-fulfilling prophecies. Self-fulfilling prophecies. For example, if you are told that wewe mjinga sana, as you are growing up, it is hammered at you, mjinga, mjinga, mjinga. Wewe ng'ombe sana. As you grow up, you may become foolish because the people who started that label, giving you that label, they thought that you are a fool, and therefore you have tried to make effort, but because of that, having that picture of mjinga in your mind, you may not do well in education or in other matters. Look at the names that you are given when you are growing up by your parents. Have they become a reality in your life? Have you become what they used to call you? So labels can result in self-fulfilling prophecies. The labeled, that means the label that you have been given, may perceive themselves as the label and act accordingly. So if you are called foolish, you act foolishly. If you are called bright or sharp, you act like somebody who is very clever, because you don't want to go against that label that you're given. On the other hand, people can fail to see anything else in a person other than the label. So apart from the person seeing himself as that label, other people will start seeing that person as the label, as a person who is, a teacher may call a person difficult student. So if you are given that label of difficult student, this one is a difficult student, every teacher will be coming and saying, this one is a difficult student. So whenever a new teacher comes into that class, they know Kamau is a difficult student, and therefore they will deal with her according to that label. And they will say, Mutiso is a gifted student. So whenever teachers come to class, they will deal with that student as a gifted one. So a label may become, the labeled may perceive themselves as the label and act accordingly, or other people may fail to see anything else in that person other than the label. So if you are stupid, that all people who know that you are stupid, they have labeled you stupid, they'll be seeing you as stupid. If you are gifted, all people who know you by that name, gifted, they will see you as gifted. And therefore, if you fail, they will not understand that they will not understand why you have failed while you are gifted. Educational implication of labeling. You read these two articles using bullets, list 5 points on how labeling theory can be used in education. So that is your assignment on how to apply labeling theory in education. And with that, we come to the end of our lesson today. Any question? Nilikuwa nimeambiwa the font small, ndio naona sahi. I hope Amos, you are able to see. That is the biggest I can make it. Welcome, Edwin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So make sure you do the activities. They are part of the lesson. We said that I have my part, you have your part. No, in the theoretical, in the sociological theories, it is important to know the meaning of the theory, to know the assumption or the tenets, and the implication to education. Those are the three major things that you must know in those theories. Tenets, assumption. I have said it several times. Tenets are the assumptions. Thank you, Edmond. The notes are already on the LMS. Oh, for the cat, we are not going to have the cat. Inaitwa almanac bado haijatoka. Ikitoka nitamwambia when we are supposed to do the cat. Not next week. Next week we'll do the next lesson. I will inform you next week when we'll be doing the cat. I need to know so that I have 3 groups for EFN204, so I need to organize those 3 groups to do at the same time. So I need to inform other teachers. So next week will not be possible for the cat. There are people who are requiring a physical one. I wanted to make this physical, but I was not able. But nitajaribu. Group work itakuja towards the end of the semester. Where did you get master status from? Edmund. Master status